And welcome to the Cowbell Kingdom Road Reaction post-game show. I'm Jonathan Santiago. This is James Ham. Sacramento Kings closing out the final game of a season-high 7-game road trip with a loss. They lose to the Minnesota Timberwolves 104-102. A couple of fresh thoughts, or a couple initial thoughts on this game before we get into our three things that we wanted to watch. DeMarcus Cousins did not play tonight. 10th game this season that Cousins does not play due to either injury or suspension. And the results, they've been the same, James. They've gone 0-10 in all of those games without DeMarcus Cousins in the lineup. Now, granted, tonight you did get good efforts from Derrick Williams coming off the bench to have a good game for the Sacramento Kings. But without DeMarcus Cousins, the Kings just have not been able to produce victories this season at all.
And sadly enough, John, they have officially been eliminated from the playoff race.
I was waiting to see when you would break a smile there.
Yeah, it's been a long season, John. It's been a long season. 0-10 without Cousins, that's a big deal. I like what Derrick Williams brings anytime one of the big three are out. I think Derrick Williams always seems to step up, or he has at least a couple of times. And this was a good game. Again, we've talked about this before. This is the type of loss that everyone should be happy with. 103-101. The Kings weren't it all the way down the stretch. There are some things we can talk about as we get deeper into this, but yeah, not a horrible game to watch. Not watching Kevin Martin shoot free throws is like watching paint dry. Again, I'm shocked that Kings fans ever enjoyed watching 13 of 13 from the line every game, but I know they did, and now he's in Minnesota doing the same exact thing. So, yeah, interesting game.
All right, moving on to our three things to watch here for this game between the Kings and Timberwolves. Can the Kings play with the same defensive effort that they showed in Chicago? And tonight they limit the Timberwolves to 43.6% shooting. The Wolves also shoot 6 of 17 from three-point distance, 35.3% from three-point land. What really did impress me, James, defensively, they made adjustments. You could see it during the game that they made some good adjustments, particularly in transition defense. Early in the first quarter, the Wolves got a ton of leak outs, and
yeah, the track meet.
They were getting easy buckets in transition. In fact, they had, I believe, 9 first quarter transition points, and for the rest of the game, they scored 9. So that's nice to see that the Sacramento Kings made progress in that area tonight against the Minnesota Timberwolves in what was a winnable game, but they brought the same, I think, consistent level of defensive effort that we've seen from them the last few games here in Minnesota.
Yeah, John, they outshot Minnesota by almost 5%, 48.2% to 43.6%. They grabbed a bunch more rebounds, 47 to 34. I think that they did a lot of things that they needed to do to win this game. They just got sloppy. They had some bad breaks. They lost this game in the waning moments. So I think the defensive effort was there. We actually, while Ben McLemore did get, lit up for 30 points from Kevin Martin, clearly he only played 19 minutes, so most of those were not on him. Travis Outlaw played a lot of two guard tonight, and I just think overall this was a solid defensive effort. Nothing great, who knows? You don't expect to see Robbie Hummel come off the bench and boom hits a baseline jumper and boom hits a baseline three. And he's got 5 points in just a couple of minutes, or 6 points he finishes with. So I don't think anyone – that's one of those moments that really swayed this game, like a little burst by him. So overall, I think the effort was good, John.
Yeah, even remember that play with about, I think, a minute 15 to go, Kevin Martin driving to the rim, and Rudy Gay with a great contest, a great block shot. Unfortunately,
yes,
the ball gets batted out to the three-point line where Kevin Love gets his shot, and they were down 94-95 at that point. They take a 2-point lead there, and that kind of shifts the momentum. But you see, like as a microcosm in that game, where they made some strides defensively, where they could still stand to make some more improvements down the line. So
Yeah,
let's move on. Okay,
I
go ahead.
thought they did a really nice job on Jose Barea. When you bring that up, there was, and Cunningham went 1 of 7 from the field. Barea went 1 of 6. I think that they made adjustments on Barea, which were really impressive. Even Ray McCallum was all over Barea. He had a huge block against him, and I know that Jason Thompson also swatted a ball. So you're right, John. Now that you think back, there were some solid adjustments that the Kings made in this game defensively.
All right, moving on to our second thing and our 3 things to watch. Does Kevin Martin have his way with Ben McLemore again? And pretty much he did. You alluded to it. Kevin Martin finishing with 31 points to lead the Minnesota Timberwolves tonight. 14 of 14 from the free throw line. And he really got Ben in foul trouble early on in this game where he scored 10 points in the first quarter. Ben only played, in this game 19 minutes, as you mentioned, did foul out. And this was something that we saw Kevin Martin do to Ben McLemore 2 weeks ago in Sacramento. And, it's part of the learning process for Ben McLemore as a rookie in this league to understand that a guy like that is going to draw fouls on you and he's going to get to the free throw line in any way possible, and you have to adjust to it on the defensive side of the floor.
Yeah, Martin's just crafty. I mean, we all know it. That you watched him in Sacramento long enough. I mean, even in the fourth quarter of this game, check this out. In 8 minutes, Martin goes 1 of 4 from the field, and he goes 6 of 6 from the line and still scores 9 points. So I don't know if that's getting torched as much as it is. Martin just has a really awkward game, and he's very, very tough to defend. And he does this to everyone in the league. It's not like it's not winning basketball. That's not what we've seen out of Martin throughout his career. But it's efficient basketball, and it's something that every time that Ben McLemore plays against a guy like this, I think he's going to get better. We saw him swat a couple of balls away early on. We didn't see is the vintage, Ben McLemore reaches out a little bit, and then Kevin Martin just raises up his arms underneath McLemore's and gets a foul for the three-pointer. We didn't see any of that stuff where, sort of Kevin Martin does the fooled you rookie move. And so I think overall it was a solid effort. Just, 31 points.
What I did like out of Ben was late in the game in the fourth period with that extra long possession that the Kings had where they got up a couple three-point attempts to possibly, I think, tie the game or so. Ben went in and grabbed the Rudy Gay miss on the rebound, and that's nice. That's nice to see. Nice to see him doing things besides trying to score, because that's been one of our gripes with him this season is can he contribute in other ways besides being a shooter on this team? And he has to be a guy who can fill up the stat sheet in multiple ways. And if he's getting boards like that in critical moments, I think that's a good thing to see from the young rookie.
Yeah, and I really liked his offensive sets too. I mean, he had a couple of nice catch and shoots that were clean. He took the ball to the rack once or twice. He didn't score a bunch, but again, I thought overall he didn't look out of sorts as much as he has in other games. I think this is just one of those nights where, even late in this game, Martin picks up a bunch of points on those late freebies that the Kings had to foul. So, yeah, overall, not a great performance, but a performance you can live with from a rookie.
All right, on our last of our three things to watch, does Reggie Evans or Derrick Williams start at power forward for the Kings? Michael Malone has kind of been going back and forth between the two forwards. Jason Thompson has been benched, and he's coming off the Kings bench in a reserve role, kind of as a low post scorer for their second unit. And tonight, Reggie Evans got another start. He started last night against Chicago. But Derrick Williams was the guy who was really the difference maker here of the two players. Derrick coming off the bench to score 26 points and 11 rebounds against his old ball club. And he scored 10 of those 26 in like the final 3 minutes, or in a 3-minute span late in the first quarter against the Minnesota Timberwolves. So Derrick Williams having a really, really good night against his old team. And, I saw this mentioned on Twitter. I think it was Akis from Sacktown Royalty, our friend over there, who mentioned that he really likes it he really likes to see when Derrick Williams is playing aggressively, and he was playing very aggressively tonight. Taking the ball to the rim. He did attempt 10 free throws tonight, went 8 of 10 from the line. So when Derrick Williams is playing aggressively, things can happen for him.
Yeah, I think the interesting thing too with Williams is that there are certain games where he gets the ball and he instantly breaks out and he starts leading the break. And those are the games that we've really, those are the memorable games. Wasn't it against Houston earlier in the season where he dropped like 31 or something, where he just kept, every time you turned around, there's Derrick Williams leading the break, flying to the basket. So I like that, that's sort of the way he plays when he's doing that. It seems like this kid really, really, really needs to know that, number one, he's a cog, and number two, that he's going to play huge minutes, because that's when he's really confident and we start seeing him, put up big nights. Again, he has a double-double. He has 11 rebounds in this game, and he's a big reason why the Kings out-rebounded the Timberwolves by so much. He's a quality player, but he's got to become more consistent. It's something that he's fought with the whole season, is consistency. Also, I thought it was really strange because this question was really about Reggie Evans or Derrick Williams. Reggie Evans gets a start. He only plays 19 minutes, but Aaron Gray also got a start after 9 straight DNP CDs. He hadn't played at all, 9 straight games. All of a sudden, he's coming in and starting, and I didn't think he was great, and I didn't think he was horrible, but certainly early in this game, when Minnesota was running circles around the Kings and doing layup lines, a lot of that was around Aaron Gray. It was just, he looked like he hadn't played in 9 games, and of course he hadn't. So he looked just a step slow, but, kind of a surprise start. I would have thought that Jason Thompson and Reggie Evans, or Jason Thompson and Derrick Williams, especially when you consider that Thompson has notoriously been solid against Kevin Love.
All right, player of the game tonight, I'm going to go with Kevin Love on the winning side. He scored 26 points on 9 of 15 shooting, 10 rebounds, 5 assists for the Minnesota Timberwolves All-Star. But, of course, we mentioned Kevin Martin tonight leading the way in scoring for the Timberwolves with 31 points on 14 of 14 shooting from the free throw line. But, very underrated player from this game, or under the radar type guy from this game that I thought played very well was Gorgui Dieng for the Minnesota Timberwolves. Now, Nikola Pekovic did not start tonight because of a sore right ankle, and Dieng came off the bench to start for the Timberwolves and recorded a double-double, a career-high 11 rebounds, career-high 5 blocks, 12 points. That's a nice stat line, and he's a guy who he knows his role. He knows that he has to be a defensive presence out there, and that was a pretty impressive stat line, I think, for a guy who had learned late that he was going to be starting tonight against the Sacramento Kings.
Yeah, John, I totally agree. I think that Kevin Love, of course, is going to win it because Minnesota won. But I think there's a really interesting thing that happened in this game. If the Kings would have won, we would have had to decide between Isaiah Thomas and Derrick Williams. I think Derrick Williams would have got the nod, but Isaiah Thomas had those 2 huge threes down the stretch. He almost brought this Kings teams back. Unfortunately, he did have just a dreadful turnover late. But check this out. In the first half of this game, Isaiah Thomas had, I think it's 5 points and 5 assists. Oh, no, 6 assists in the first half. And he looked like he was honestly trying to get his teammates involved. As soon as the second half started, like the switch flipped, and he was done with that. And I just think it's really an interesting thing to see him. Sure, he goes off for 22 points in the second half, but he ends up with 1 assist in the second half. And I think that the Kings could have won this game if they would have distributed the ball better. They end up with 17 total assists, and if I'm not mistaken, they had 12 in the first half. Again, that's 7 missed assists that they should have had, or that they put up in the first half that they didn't put up in the second half. And I think that would have made this game a little more opened up. I think that the Kings would have had a better shot. I don't think that Rudy Gay did a good job of moving the ball either. He didn't have one of his great games. And overall, I really struggle with this dynamic that, again, Isaiah Thomas shoots 6 shots in the first half and 15 in the second half, and the dynamic of this game totally changes, especially when the Kings go into halftime up 54-53. If it's not broke, don't fix it. Play within the confines of the game and try to win this game the right way. And I have a weird feeling about this game.
See, that's where I would disagree with you tonight. He did get 6 assists in the first half, only 1 in the second half. But I think this is the process that Isaiah Thomas is going through right now in his career, where he's trying to figure out a good balance between being a distributor for this team, but also being, the scorer that he is. And to me, if he can do something like that, where he's getting his teammates involved early, moving the ball pretty well, getting his assists, and then know that he can light it up later on when need be, which is what he did in the second half, scoring 22 of his 27 points in the second half. I can't really fault the guy, especially in a 2-point loss when you don't have your starting center, who is arguably an all-star this year, in DeMarcus Cousins. So for me, Isaiah finishing the night with 27 points and 7 assists. As you mentioned, he did have a costly turnover there in the end, but 2 turnovers tonight. This is a game where I think these are the type of games I think Isaiah Thomas has to have for the Sacramento Kings, where he is getting his teammates involved early, knowing that he can light it up, pick things up for himself offensively later in the game, which is, as I said, what he was able to do.
Yeah, I agree with that, and I'm not just trying to blow him up. He did have a great game, 27-7. I think my point is that, look, we already understand that Isaiah Thomas can score 20 points a night. He's proven it all season long. That it's there's no question. The question that still remains is Isaiah Thomas a frontline starting point guard in the NBA, or is he like a better version of Nate Robinson? And I think games like this, they make you really continue to question this. If he were to average 18 and 8 on this season, then he's the Kings starting point guard for next season without any question. And the Kings are a better team, and we're looking at this whole thing differently. But that's not the way the season's gone. And I think even down the stretch here, it shouldn't be about how many points can I score. It's, can I prove to everyone that I can be a distributor, and a distributor first on many nights, and I can, hate to say this, I can sacrifice a part of my game to make my teammates better. And this is one of those games where I think he did it in the first half, and I don't expect him to score 5 points again in the second half. I'm okay with him scoring 12 or 13 points, but going nuts and sort of being the only guy who's scoring is sort of different for me.
All right, again, the Sacramento Kings coming away with a loss here in the final game of a 7-game road trip. They're going to be back in action on Tuesday against the Washington Wizards. Join us on CowbellKingdom.com for our CK Press Box report, recapping all the action between the Sacramento Kings and the Washington Wizards. The Wizards' lone visit to Sacramento this year. Of course, DeMarcus Cousins, he will likely be back in that game. I see no reason why he wouldn't be back. Again, he missed tonight's game due to right knee tendonitis, and apparently, according to head coach Michael Malone, who talked to reporters after the game, said that he knew that he wasn't going to play this morning and wanted to give DeMarcus some time off just because he's had a heavy load lately. So DeMarcus going up against his friend and former college teammate John Wall on Tuesday, and that's going to do it for us here tonight for the Road Reaction postgame show. Any final thoughts, James?
Yeah, the Royce White era may begin on Tuesday. There's a possibility. Who knew?
Yeah, that'll be interesting.
It'll be interesting to see if he makes his NBA debut on Tuesday.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if he does indeed. He's been in Sacramento after wrapping up a 4-game stint with the Reno Bighorns last week, and he's just been kind of getting ready, and he has to sign another 10-day contract soon, but the Royce White will likely be with the Sacramento Kings in uniform on Tuesday, so that'll be an interesting story angle to watch. So again, the Minnesota Timberwolves coming away with a 104-102 victory over the Sacramento Kings, And join us on Cowbell Kingdom for the CK Press Box Report, where we'll recap all the action between the Sacramento Kings and Washington Wizards on Tuesday evening. So for James Ham, I'm Jonathan Santiago. Thank you for tuning in to this edition of the Road Reaction Postgame Show here on CowbellKingdom.com.